Hola, hola, bienvenidos. Good morning, buenos días. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited for today's Cafecito con Ace. Thank you for joining us. We would love to see your love in the chat. So please feel free to comment throughout the conversation today. And we're super excited to dive into our conversation. Before we do so, a little bit more about who we are, the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, or HACE. And our mission is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of talent. We do that through providing insight, access, and support for individuals to be successful in their careers. So thank you for joining us for Cafecito con Ace, our second one of the year. Super excited to continue to engage with our network. And those of you who are not usually part of our network and are joining for the first time, we welcome you to our Cafecito segment. We'd love to see you in future Cafecitos. So we do like to engage here. Feel free to continue that engagement throughout the chat and comments that you'll see throughout as well, and connect with others that you see within those comments as well. So going into some announcements that we have before we dive into today's conversation, a little bit about what we have going on at ASE coming up in a couple weeks. I can't believe it, but it's going to be February. Crazy. Next week, we're going into February already. So into February, we have our coaching corner coming up on February 19th. That is a great opportunity for folks in our network to be given some career coaching, one-on-one, individualized support from a coach that can help and guide you through whether it's a career transition, thinking about interview skills, thinking about that next step in your career, whatever that may look like at this stage. So definitely encourage you to sign up for any of those coaching corner slots. We have multiple time slots available throughout that day. So we'd love to have you join us for that if you're interested in getting some of that guidance. Secondly, we have our Spring 2026 Leadership Program applications currently open for our leadership programs, hence the conversation we have today. So you'll learn a little bit more about those leadership programs and the impact that they can have on individuals. But currently we have our El Futuro and Colores programs open until about February deadline, February 20th for both of those. El Futuro is for our high school focused students, and Colores is for individuals who identify within the LGBTQIA community. So we'd love to have you join any of those programs, or if you know a professional that would be a good fit or a student, please do refer them to those leadership programs. In addition to that, we have our Mujeres de ACE, Hombres de ACE, Elevando Latino Leadership, and Multicultural Leadership programs open as well. And those will have a deadline of March 20th. So lots of great opportunity from high school to mid-level professionals. We'd love to have you join any of those leadership programs, as we're still in the middle of starting the year where we can say Happy New Year still. So still time to think about those New Year's resolutions. As we're starting off the year, it'll be a great way to continue your professional development, a great way to grow in whatever direction you're currently at in your career. So definitely encourage you to look further at those leadership programs and or refer a friend, a professional that you may know in your network as well to any of them. And then lastly, super excited, in the next couple months, we will have our 2026 Summit and Award Celebration. So we do this annually around April. This year will be April 29th and 30th in Chicago. So we're excited to go back to Chicago and host our network of individuals there for our summit. You'll see the theme up here above me, Breaking Barreras, Cultivating the Power of Líderes. We would love to have you join us at that summit. Tickets are currently on sale, so definitely check out our website. We'll post some links in the chat here as well for you to check that event out and the other mentions that I previously did of leadership programs and coaching corner as well. So definitely would love to have you engage in that event. It'll be a great opportunity to come together as a community in person and really connect with like-minded individuals, folks from so many different industries that really come together for that development and growth. All right, so as we dive into the conversation today, we have a graduates alumni fireside chat. We are so excited and so excited to see all the familiar faces from our leadership programs that have joined us today in order to engage a bit more about the impact that the leadership programs had on them and talk a little bit more about their purpose, their why. So getting into the conversation, we love to start off all our cafecitos with speaking about cafecito, right? So I'm going to go ahead and ask our guest first, what is their cafecito preference, or how do they like it prepared, their beverage of choice for the morning? So I'll ask that of our guests to go ahead and answer that question, and then we'll get into the conversation after that. So Melinda, we can start with you. How do you like your cafecito or morning beverage of choice?
I am team agua all the way. Your girl has summer goals, so we're drinking lots of water over here.
Awesome, awesome. I'm also team agua, so I'm right on board with that train. Ada, how about you?
So if I'm gonna do cafe, it's cafe con leche, of course. Preferably Spanish coffee. And then recently, a few months ago, I woke up one day and was like, you know what, I want to try matcha. And so I've been on this kind of matcha journey of figuring it out. And it's been interesting, but I like it. So when it just depends the day. Depends the day I'm having. I'm either gonna do matcha or I'm gonna do like a double espresso of like cafe yaucono or something, and then I'm good for like 4 days. So
You got the best of both worlds there. You can
yeah,
learn everything.
yeah, extremist. It's got to be real mellow or it's on fire. That's
Amazing. All right, Taylor, how about you?
So I'm not a big coffee person, but a nice hot green tea with a little bit of honey will do me right, especially during this winter cold. It's been pretty rough here in Chicago, but also I do enjoy a matcha every now and then as well. It's like either.
Okay,
good job.
so we got some variety. We got some variety in the room. Thank you all for sharing. And Taylor, to your mention, hence why I'm wearing a coat today. It's very cold for sure. So I'm bracing the winter as well. Thank you all for sharing that. And please, to our audience, go ahead and share, what is your beverage of choice? How do you like your cafecito? If you have cafe in the morning, tell us. We'd love to hear from you as well. All right, so getting into our conversation for today, we're going to start with Melinda. So, Melinda, going to you as the founder of Thai Phoenix Consulting, a multi service leadership development firm. So excited to see that you have over 18 years of learning and development expertise within your work, and have definitely partnered with multiple Fortune 500 companies and nonprofit organizations to really build those inclusive cultures and advance underrepresented talent. Also, have been lucky to have you as a supervisor, as the previous director within HACE. So definitely so excited to have you here and to share your experience. You are Mujeres de HACE and Elevando Latino Leadership alumni, and we're also the recipient of our 2025 Alumni Icon Award last year. So definitely so happy to have you here. If you can start us off by sharing a little bit about your cultural background, and then getting into what was really one thing that you learned from HACE Leadership Programs that you feel like immediately changed how you led or showed up at work.
Ooh, good question. So I'm a proud dummy Rican, as my family calls me. So Dominican and Puerto Rican, originally from New York, and now out here in Tennessee, and proud first gen. What I learned in the program was actually in the Mujeres program. And I always say it helped me fill my confidence and my pockets, because it was the first time that I actually went into rooms and spaces with people who look like me, who talk like me, showed me it was possible, helped me leverage my Latinidad, and most importantly, helped me advocate for a raise. That was huge. I was always used to just taking what I was given, and I didn't know I could ask and actually advocate for myself. And that was definitely a great team activity and role playing and a whole bunch of woosahs. I got this. I didn't get what I wanted right away, but your girl did get paid. So that was my major takeaway in learning how to advocate for myself and my worth.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. We definitely see the prevalency, right, within our communities to not necessarily be as vocal and be a little bit more afraid to advocate for ourselves as sort of a, being cocky, right? And that unique balance of confidence versus cocky, right? So definitely a great aspect to keep in mind, that is really how we're going to get noticed, right? Being able to talk about what we are doing, our results, our accomplishments, to really be able to put ourselves out there. So thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll go on to Ada. So Ada brings a unique blend of cybersecurity knowledge and aviation experience. That's right, you heard that right, aviation experience. Currently, they are pursuing a master's degree in technology and society, and also serve within United Airlines as a senior manager for global customer solutions. So Ada, you are a graduate of our Mujeres de ACE and also our Elevando Latino Leadership Programs. And we're also the recipient of our 2023 Mujer Maravilla Award. So we're so excited to have you share your journey. If you can start by sharing a little bit about your cultural background and then go into how has participating in the ACE Leadership Programs really influenced your career trajectory and professional goals.
Absolutely. So like Melinda, I worded a little different. I'm a Borisqueya. I'm also non-binary. And so, coming into the role that I'm in now is my first corporate role. I came from operations, where you're, elbows deep in chaos, and it's very, structured in that, you show up, you have some directions, you get it done. And so I think coming into the Mujeres de ACE program really helped me understand that I have to kind of lean into the superpower that is my Latinidad. Where in the beginning, it was very much trying to kind of assimilate because I was the only Latine person, non-binary person, in the space that I was in. And so it was very nerve-wracking at times. And so you try to not live up to the stereotype and all of these things. And so it was also a little lonely for a while. And so Mujeres de ACE, I really found community. I met these amazing women that were killing it in their own space, and at the same time having some of the same kind of issues, about how they show up. And so I think the biggest thing that first cohort of ACE did for me was help me build confidence, and to really lean into my authenticity, to show up how I am, to own it, and to not be scared to, like, Melinda said, and you've said, to advocate for myself, advocate for other people. And so I think that it really helped to set me up to be a better leader of teams, and to build a better brand for myself in that space.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Ada. I feel like it's becoming so important with some of the challenges that our communities are facing these days to really hone in on that identity, on that authenticity, right? And not back down from being who we are, and being able to have that make us stronger and more united as a community. So thank you for sharing that story, in that we are doing that and we are moving the needle forward for our communities and stepping into that power.
Absolutely.
All right, Taylor, you're up. So Taylor, a little bit more about you. You're currently serving as a program director with I9 Sports, supporting development and helping kids succeed in life through sports. As a coach, motivational speaker, teacher, and youth advocate, definitely passionate about empowering young people. So we're excited to have you as our Hombres de ACE alumni. So thank you for joining. And then you also, through Common Purpose, received the Global Legacy Award winner as well. So welcome, Taylor. Tell us a little bit more about your cultural background. And then if you can share in what ways our ACE Leadership Programs help you better understand your leadership style.
Absolutely. So I have family origins in Belize, but I am born and raised in Chicago, lived all over, but currently reside in Chicago. But for me, the conversations and vulnerable conversations, I should say, that occurred in the Homeless Asset Program really forced me to self-reflect on how, my upbringing, cultural values, machismo affects my leadership, my personality, and really reflecting on the person that, I want to be in the workplace as a leader. And so really doing that insights discovery assessment, being able to understand, my tendencies, my bad tendencies, and it was very direct and really helped me to think about who is the leader that I want to be, and managing over 30 people. I want to make sure they all feel important. And so sometimes I thought like, okay, I'm very solutions based. I put a lot of systems in place as well so that my staff feels supported. Everybody knows where everything is, but that can also interrupt that relationship building or the opportunity for my staff to feel they can speak up. And not to say I shut them down, but in the sense of, okay, well, things are already in place. So, there's no space to say anything. So following the program, I actually set up a one-on-one meeting with all of my staff just to hear from them about, what do you like about the job? What do you don't like about the job? What can be improved so that they know that, this is a mutual thing. We're working together through this and, whatever improvements we can make it together. And so, if there's things that I could implement, we discussed it right on that call. And so that was definitely a win. It helped in also setting the expectations and the standard so that there's a mutual understanding of that as well. So I know what you need from me, and then what I need from you, at the end of the day, because I think that can be blurry line a lot in leadership where it's just, your first month, what to expect. And after that, it's kind of like, okay, well, we'll figure it out. And you'll say something if I do something wrong. But I think that holding that standard and having that conversation and also just taking the time to listen, being solution oriented, I immediately want to go to solution and not hear everything, about, what's going on. That's not helpful. And so I think that it allowed me to really reflect on that and take a step back and say, okay, what are you feeling? How can I support it? And knowing that they know that we're in this together. It's not just about me, even though I'm the leader in this program.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Taylor. I think something I took away from what you learned is really being able to set your employees up for success. Right. So if you are already starting off the bat, having those conversations, setting the expectation, as you mentioned, right, they're already being set up for success and have those tools to navigate and really be able to meet that goal or meet the expectation, whatever it is, right? Versus, to your point, not really being sure or having some of those blurred lines. So definitely some of those keys to making sure that they can be successful in their roles. All right, amazing. Well, thank you all for sharing. Definitely want to share a little bit more with our audience just about our leadership programs in general, as we have some overall representation here from a little bit of everything. So as you all heard at the beginning, we do have our spring 2026 leadership program applications open currently. You've heard from a variety of our Mujeres de HACE, which is tailored to our women leaders, Latina leaders, and multicultural professionals. So definitely thinking about those themes around advocacy, as Melinda mentioned, negotiation, about self-reflection, about your cultural values is something we infuse into all of our programs as well, within that sort of entry-level phase as you're getting into that career space. It's partner program, Hombres de HACE, which Taylor mentioned a bit as well. In that same vein, being able to think about from the lens of your Latinidad, those cultural values for our hombres in our community. And Taylor also mentioned those vulnerable conversations that we don't often have, right? So being able to have that community and that space, all of our cohorts have that community space where you can really dive deep into some of these themes and topics that we're discussing and have a community of support behind you as you do that. So being able to really bounce ideas off each other, learn about, hey, I'm having this challenge or this struggle. Like, how are you navigating this type of challenge in the workplace, right? How are you dealing with approaching your leadership style, whatever that may look like, right? So really that community aspect is something we really pride ourselves in within our leadership programs. You also heard mention of our Elevando Latino Leadership Program, which we have some graduates of as well. Within that, moving up the pipeline, so to speak, into that sort of mid-level range for professionals. So honing in on some things regarding leading others in those areas. So being able to think about conflict management, strategic planning when it comes to communicating up to upper level management and leadership, right? So some of those more deeper topics when it comes to leading a team now. In addition to that, our multicultural leadership program also catered toward those mid-level professionals, but from that lens of intercultural communication, of thinking about working with and communicating with folks that may be of different backgrounds than you. We mentioned a little bit of everything here in terms of background as well. Some New Yorican, some Chicago, some Belize, like a little bit of everything. So being able to think about, well, what does that look like when you're on a team with one another? And you have all these different perspectives, life experiences. How do you bring that to the table cohesively? How do you get on the same page to be able to plan strategically for the future, for your organization, your department, etc.? So these are the types of things and takeaways that we really hope that you get out of our leadership programs as well. I really want to give a quick special shout out to our Colores de HACE program. So our Colores program is something we're really hoping to launch this year, specifically for individuals that identify within the LGBTQIA community. We're really proud to offer this space to individuals to really be able to talk about what are those unique challenges that are facing those communities, especially in today's day and age where we are seeing so much more, unfortunately, negative rhetoric coming around in those communities as well. So being able to really have a space to come together and think about how are we managing our emotions, how are we moving forward as a community, but also bringing our allies with us, right, to be able to make a difference in these types of areas. So I'll kind of bounce a little bit to Ada, since I know you mentioned identifying as being non-binary as well. Can you share with us having something like Colores, if you were to have had that, early in your career journey, what difference would that have made in your journey?
I think it's funny that you asked this because when I mentioned before about authenticity, that also comes with how you want people to treat you and talk to you and all of these things. And so, it started with the fact that I tell people that my name is Ada. And a lot of people knew me as Ada because they wouldn't say Ada correctly and it would drive me crazy. And then I decided, you know what? It's Ada. So I'm gonna need y'all to get with the program. And then kind of the next thing in this has been, I'm non-binary. So I'm a they them. And that has been a huge adjustment. And I think part of it for me is having the courage to tell people these are my pronouns, especially in the space that we're in today where it is, there's so much like legislation and rhetoric against the community. And so having the courage to let people know from the beginning, these are my pronouns, and to correct people also when they're not using the right pronouns. And then I think on the other side of that, for people to see people, especially like coworkers and things like that, making the effort where they are now correcting themselves. They catch it, when they're talking to me and they'll like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and they'll correct it. And so I think that, having a place that kind of teaches you how to navigate some of these spaces where you don't have that experience, where you might not feel comfortable, you don't know how to, approach some of these conversations. And again, having people that you can talk to that might be having similar experiences or that have really good perspectives on how to kind of move forward in a way that's healthy and productive. And so, it sounds like you're inviting me to another cohort for Colores. I don't know. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. No sé.
We may or may not have a spot. We will have to take a look, but definitely encourage you. Yes, we would love to have you. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that background. Definitely important for us to continue creating those spaces. And as you mentioned, to really be able to step into your authentic self and be able to own that, right, in a positive light. Taylor, I want to come back to you. Something you had mentioned in your response about the program was related to vulnerability and having vulnerable conversations within the Hombres cohort and community. How important was that within your program experience? How do you think that impacted you?
I think it really it forced me to self-reflect more. And I think that self-reflection starts with honesty, which vulnerability is needed in that. And so I think to be in a space where you're seeing other people express that vulnerability and that honesty makes you really want to think about it, or I say myself, it made me want to think about it more within myself. It's like, okay, how is these things affecting me? Or, what kind of thoughts come to mind that are barriers, regardless of the conversation, that I need to be vulnerable with myself about, as far as how I want to be, represented as, and the leader that I want to be. And so I think it was definitely an important step. And part of the reason I love the program was to be able to have those vulnerable conversations, because there aren't a lot of spaces that, if you don't craft them yourself, where you can be vulnerable about some of these things, and I think I really appreciated that. And the program facilitators did a great job of managing those conversations and welcoming those conversations. So it definitely was impactful to me, my experience with the program.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. I definitely think, as you mentioned, because there aren't a lot of spaces, and the other part of it is that we move so fast, right? We're like, go, 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 next to do, right? So we don't often stop and really reflect, right? Like, how is this impacting me? How am I feeling about this situation right now? Because we're on to the next thing. So being able to really stop and have that space where you can talk openly and also reflect, to your point, is so transformative, right? All right, Melinda, we'll come back to you. So you shared a little bit about the fact that you were able to be more of an advocate for yourself because of your leadership program experience. Is there any particular example that you can share of how that played out within your professional career and how that helped you?
Aside for getting more money, what helped me was the program lead, the coaches, and even my cohort members, that we did a lot of role playing. So it was good just to even practice getting rejected, the no, not yet, getting that space to even just feel confident enough. Even dealing with my nervous system, bubble guts, nerves, just to even ask. We did all that, and I transferred into practicing in the mirror and woosah, and all of that just made me realize the rehearsal, the community, the why. So it was a good experience, and not even just negotiating, but in everything, even just showing up for myself today. It's the same thing, looking at the mirror, deep breathing, practicing. So it's all those other things, texting friends or cohort members, just to have that support. So you're not feeling like you're alone and you're by yourself. And if you are, you got this. So that was definitely big skills of practice. Everything could be learned.
Amazing. Okay, so actually being able to put into practice the theory, right? Not just theory, but theory to practice, right? Being able to do that actively, so then you felt comfortable enough to do that on your own in a real life scenario.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate all of your vulnerability, to go back to that, right? And being able to really have this space to share a little bit more about how those leadership programs impacted you. For our audience members, we will have this live stream later on available on our YouTube channel, and then still be able to be played back. So feel free to leave comments or additional questions that you may have for us within the recording, and then we can definitely follow up with you as well. For our guests, I'll ask you to share just one phrase to close us out, of if you can think of what limiting belief, right, that you had before your leadership program that you no longer carry, and tell me what's that phrase of that limiting belief that you no longer carry, and we'll close out with that. So I'll start with Ada.
I don't know that it's a specific phrase so much as kind of a thought process, where before it's this idea that you have to be perfect and you have to check all the boxes, and everything has to be exactly perfect. It needs to fit, and I realized that that's not only not very productive, but it's not efficient. And in the end, it doesn't work that way. That's not life, right? And so it's really being bold and knowing what you bring to the table and being confident enough to say, I will learn what I don't know, but I got this. I can do this. So
All right.
that
Let
is,
go of perfection.
yeah.
That's the phrase. We'll capture that. All right. Taylor, what about you, Taylor?
I would say letting go of the idea that you have to do it all by yourself is something that it helped with me. And just to add one quick more, it's just that results and solutions are more important than the process. You know, just letting go of that would be the two.
Amazing. Okay. Melinda?
Oh, that hard work is enough. No, speaking up for yourself, being visible, those are things that are important. So,
All right. Going back to advocacy, you're right on brand.
yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. So happy to see you all and see the fact that you've been able to continue to grow. To our guests, check out our leadership programs. We'd love to have you, or we'd love to have one of your colleagues, refer a friend. Gracias for joining Cafecito con Ace y hasta la próxima. Until next time.
Adios.
Bye.